guys, welcome back to another video. So today I thought it'd be fun to take you guys along with me as I make this month's Patreon reward stickers. So here are some of the past ones that I've already done from September. I did January and February from this year. So today we are going to be doing some from March. In the top left hand corner I'll show you an unreleased one that I think I did a video of as well. So just to preface this video a little bit, I do have several different videos out there talking about my sticker making process, including ones that do not require a sticker cutting machine by any means, but today we are going to be doing a sticker sheet and with kiss cut stickers. So let me take you guys along with me by starting off with the sketching portion. So I have my previous sticker set from, I believe this is September's rewards, and I like using it as kind of like my basis for the size that I want to keep everything. So this is the canvas size that I use, but you can definitely use whatever suits your preferences or whatever you feel comfortable using for your process. For me, I had a plan that I wanted the stickers to be more like planner stickers, so that's how technically I advertised them. They are a little bit more on like the smaller-ish side. They're not like super tiny, but they're like about like maybe a thumb size, about just smaller than an inch. I think like height-wise they're about an inch tall, but then width-wise I think they're like a quarter of an inch. About like, let me measure it right now. 2-ish centimeters by 2.5 centimeters, I guess, might be the size of a typical sticker from this particular sticker sheet. So my plan for a lot of my planner stickers is just having fun little chibi versions of my OCs, because for my Patreon in general, I wanted to make it more OC based. One, because I love my OCs and I do want to draw them as much as I can, and luckily a lot of you guys also really enjoy my OCs, so I thought it'd be cute to kind of make my sticker mail to be more revolving around them rather than tailoring them to like fan art or my own hyperfixations at the moment. So before I ramble too much about just things in general, for the sketching portion, I did use kind of like I said, my previous template for last year September's Patreon rewards as kind of like the template so that I can match the size up and just get a general feel of how I want to keep the style a little bit more consistent with this chibi style. I did end up switching from the dot eyes to my normal kind of like derpy style, where it's like half bottom of their eye color is like a lighter color, the inside of their eye has like a bright white iris of some sort, or pupil I guess, so it's a little bit easier for me to keep it a little bit consistent. I'm not really doing anything fancy here. I just took a normal sketching brush of your own preference and then sketching over top of the template with the color black just to make sure everything stands out. I already pre-planned general aesthetic that I wanted to do for this month's sticker sheet. So this one is based off of my OC Moriko, and I thought I wanted to do something more like Clover related, but a little bit more towards a smidge towards, how do I explain this? Like April showers-ish, because the way that I have my Patreon stickers club set up is the fact that you might receive your I guess like monthly reward in the next month. So I don't want it to be pertaining to a specific month's theme, if that makes sense, because you do receive it later. I'm going to pre-plan this so that it times out a little bit better for some of the more themed months like Halloween and Christmas, or kind of like the winter season. So hopefully it's like a month in advance instead of like a month after the fact. But sketching actually went pretty quickly. I do a mixture of both like chibis, like I mentioned, I like doing for planner stickers because I think they're cute, but as well as objects or other things that are non-chibi related, so that you can have stuff just to fill out your page with a general aesthetic rather than littering it only with like chibi characters, I guess, if that makes sense. At the very bottom, I ended up adding Moriko, Masaki, and Kaisen as well to fill out a little bit more of the space. And even though I did sketch using the template for the most part, I will end up having to resize a few things anyways. But I think this is it for majority of the sketching portions. So because the sketches are finished, I don't think there was too much to talk about for the sketching portion because it is pretty straightforward. We're just kind of laying down ideas. You can definitely do brainstorming and all that prior if you would like to, but I kind of just sketched these on the spot after a little bit of like ruminating with the theme. But on to the line art next. Actually, let's take a quick snack break with TokyoTreat and Sakuraco. Time to experience limited edition and seasonal snacks from Japan from the comfort of your own home with these lovely monthly snack boxes. TokyoTreat is a fun and exclusive monthly snack box that is filled with some of Japan's coolest and funnest treats. Each month, you'll get a Japan exclusive premium snack, a limited edition chip, and you'll get limited edition noodles. They always have a fun variety of snacks ranging from sweet to salty, even to savory. This month's box is also very, very pink, just like last month, but this time it is for the Sakura season in Japan. While Sakuraco is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that supports local snack makers across Japan, each box is carefully crafted with traditional and seasonal snacks that are hard to come by outside of Japan, like mochi, dorayaki, senbei, and even more. Because it's the Sakura season, I can definitely see a lot of Sakura flavored snacks as well as one of my favorite snacks in here. But the box also includes a signature Japanese tea and exclusive homeware item. And the homeware item for this month is actually a very cute pastel pink Sakura kozara plate, and it's perfect to place your snacks on while being framed by these really cute, lovely Sakura petals all the way around. Both boxes come with a 24-page cultural guide booklet, and it includes information regarding ingredients and allergens of each of the snacks, but also informs you of little tidbits revolving around the cultures and traditions in Japan. So if you're ever interested in learning about the Sakura season, then definitely read up about them in these booklets. Each month has a different theme, meaning that you get to try out a whole new selection of new treats and snacks every month. For example, TokyoTreat's theme for the month of February is Sakura Spring Snack Fest, while Sakuraco's box is Sakura in Bloom. I think I've said this before, but this tea is one of the most prettiest teas out there. I wish I used a glass cup for this so you can see it a little bit more properly, but this is the Sakura Blossom tea. So once it is hit with the hot water and steeped, the flowers on the inside right here, they kind of bloom and become this really beautiful floral tea that's just super adorable and pretty. It does have a very mild Sakura flavor, but also slightly sweet, so I find it very perfect to pair up with some of the other snacks in these boxes. So one of my favorites that I mentioned earlier are actually these Sakura Shiroko Sando, which have this very nice kind of cracker-like biscuit with red bean in the center, which I really love. I love how the snap and the crunch, they're just very satisfying, and they just are very subtly sweet and Sakura flavored, which I find not too overwhelming, and it's the perfect snack to have. Well, for TokyoTreat, I had these Sakura Kit Kats, which I don't remember having these before. So they also are a little bit more on the milder flavor. They're very subtle, so I find it very easy to consume and very easy to eat. So if you ever are interested in one of the Sakura snacks, I do recommend these as well. But I think my favorite from this box is actually the Sakura Peanuts. Kind of for the similar reason that their flavor is a little bit more mild, but it does pair really nicely with the kind of nutty flavor from the peanuts, so I actually really like this one. So if you would like to get a box for yourself or want to give these as a lovely gift to family or friends, then do check out the links in the description, especially if you're interested in or Sakura flavored items. Thank you again to Sakuraco and TokyoTreat for sponsoring today's video. Now let's talk about the line art. So for the line art, let's go ahead and try to match it with the same aesthetic as my previous sticker sets. So I'm going ahead and using the Milli pen as it has no real line width variation. I try to match it up with the little kaisen that I had here. So I believe I used about a size 10 for all of the line work. So for line art in general, more recently, I do typically use 2 different layers, but I think this one I might have used 3, but I kind of follow the 2 kind of layer rule where I like doing the eyes typically on a separate layer and then doing the rest of the chibi or character on another layer. And then if I need a third one, which I think I do end up doing for this, if not, I've definitely merged the eyes and the rest of the character altogether, because the only thing I'm going to be really changing the color mostly is certain skin areas as well as the bottom portion of the character's eyes, so just to give it a slightly more softer appearance, but we'll talk about that once we get to the coloring portion anyways. In terms of stabilization, I do have it set to 100. I know it might seem a little bit weird for some people, but for me, the higher the stabilization for line art, for me, it's like cleaner, but also faster because I have less corrections to do if I, take my time to actually follow my sketch lines. Sometimes you'll see that I go over lines like several times, which is very normal for line arting process, usually for many artists, so I'm no exception to that. But I do find that because I have such a high stabilization, I'm finding myself correcting just a little bit less, as long as I'm being very deliberate where I'm putting my lines. So I guess I forgot to talk about what the second layer was for my line art. So for my planner stickers or sticker sheets, if I have like text or like smaller details that I know I want to either color a different color or I want to be able to put a different thickness or something like that, I want to put it on a different layer. So, also if you see my head pop in, I apologize. I didn't realize how high up my camera was, so I guess it captured my head a lot every so often in the bottom left hand corner. So yeah, you might see my hair and my flyaway is just kind of like sticking up every so often. But for the line art being on a separate layer, I like being able to have like little sparkles, text, anything that's kind of like just like normal lines. You can see it sometimes when I draw rain for some of the stickers, because if I increase the thickness of it, it kind of doesn't really make sense, and it'll kind of be easier to tell what I'm talking about once we get to the coloring portion. Mostly because I do add a few things prior to doing the coloring. So right now we're just gonna be focusing on capturing the line art. I am using just one thickness all the way around for the most part. If like for some reason there are like some small details that I feel like are necessary, I might bump the scale or the size of my brush like down a size or two if I really need to make sure a detail is in there, but I don't want it to stand out too much. But for the most part, I use a consistent size 10 for everything. I try my best not to do too many tangents that make the design or something look super strange, but because I'm not super conscious about it, I sometimes just forget about it, mostly because at such a small size there's not really a necessary need, at least for me anyways, for having that much detail. So one thing for the line art, having consistent line work, I don't find myself needing to constantly fix like line width variation. I don't feel the need to like thicken up lines or like show depth per se. It's not going to be super necessary because the stickers are going to be such a small tiny scale that it's going to be very negligible the amount of details that are going to be there. So I want things to be a little bit more bold looking rather than having super detailed things, because otherwise, at least to me, it seems very cluttered and it might be harder to read at a distance. And like I said, because these are tinier stickers, there's not really a need to have so much detail to the point that you're not able to see it for the stickers. So having consistent line art prevents me from doing those details, as well as that it's easier for me to do a second step, which you see kind of like later on, just before the coloring portion, which I mentioned earlier. I think other times where I am a little bit more cautious, I will separate the eyes, like I mentioned, from the rest of the character, just because I like changing the eye color sometimes entirely, and then having to dodge it while having other lines like surrounding it sometimes is a pain. And that's like another thing like when I'm doing text for stickers. Sometimes the overlapping is necessary just to make sure the sticker is a little bit more contained and a reasonable size. So I like doing that on a separate layer so that I can, one, color the line art for the text a separate color, but then two, we're keeping it a little bit more condensed so I don't have to like avoid all the objects lines and then having to manually color and make sure things remain black and then other things are not like the wrong color. Hopefully that will make sense at some point. But overall, I think the line arting portion went pretty smoothly for the most part. I had a lot of fun just drawing Moriko in general. I think definitely I should have pulled up a reference of her because it's been a while that I've drawn her, so there were like slight changes or things that were not super consistent, but I kind of learned my lesson a little bit later, which is not necessary, but I definitely pull out a different reference so that I could see her while I was working on the colors, so at least that was consistent as well. And then Masaki and Kaisen were a little bit more straightforward for me. As you can see, I had 2 versions of his hand, so I ended up having to go back a few undos until it went away because I needed to get rid of that dupe because I was not going to take my time cleaning all that up. But here's kind of the overview of our line art. For the most part, it's clean. There are some parts that do feel a little bit too cluttered, but at least for me, it works for what I want it to be. And I can already see that there's some stickers that are a little bit too close to each other, which might become a problem, which we'll talk about once we have to do formatting and cutting. So with the line art done, before we do coloring, I am adding a white outline around the text as well as like the little details like the clovers, the shines and stuff, just to make them stand out from the rest of the chibis and the background as well. And then after that, you can see that I made a black outline around all of my line art for all the stickers. I went ahead and went back to my original line art, which was with the size 10, and then set that to a reference layer. I'm using the little ice cream fill tool to fill in a flat gray on top of the black outline layer, but underneath my original line art layer. So once I lower the opacity so that I can show you guys what I'm talking about, the outline looks like this. So it's like the inside and the outside of the chibi. But once I put down the flat gray on top of my outline, but underneath my original line art, only the outside has this nice thick border. I know some people ask why I don't use the outline feature for my line art to do this black outline technique, I guess. And technically I could, but I prefer doing it this way just because it's easier for me to manually split my outline and my original layer. The other workaround you could do is that you take your original line art, duplicate it, then set that one to outline, and then bring it underneath and then splitting it between having a gray layer in between your line art and then your outlines, if that makes sense. I think I talked about it in like previous videos where I've done like a lot of my chibi works because that's mostly where I use this technique, as well as just when I'm drawing things for stickers. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like other videos that I talk about why or how I typically do this darker outline only on the outside. And this makes it a little bit easier for me to make sure that the stickers stand out enough and not being too in your face with some of the smaller details, because the main shape of them will have a nice thick border around everything, and then everything on the inside will have a nice kind of like thinner line work. So things right away, I decided to fill in the gray to be Moriko's skin tone instead because I rather use that as the flat. And then after that, we start doing a little bit of shading here and there, and occasionally I will be switching back to my line art layer, alpha locking that and changing the line art to be a little bit softer. So for Moriko's skin tone, because she has a darker skin tone, I made it more of like a darker brown red. For Masaki and Kaisen, it's kind of more of a lighter orangey red for just a slightly softer look. So I tried my best to make sure I didn't miss anything. After that, we went ahead and did Moriko's hair, which for like chibi version or something that I wanted to have a little bit more color, her hair is technically black, but I do give it a little bit more of like a green tinge for her overall color palette just to match it a little bit more closely and give it a slightly softer look if I ever need it to lean it a little bit lighter, if that makes sense. For Kaisen, I typically leave it a little bit more neutral, but he does lean more towards like the blue and purple-ish black rather. It's just like a preference of mine. Technically, I would categorize both of their hair as black, but definitely for these smaller stickers. And later on, when I add a little bit of an overlay to change the colors, her hair will read very green for the most part. But I feel like it's still very much like similar value to her jacket. I just didn't want everything to be too monochromatic looking, so I did add a little bit more color to her hair to make it stand out. And because I didn't want it to be straight up black as well for her jacket, I did give it more of like a slight bluish tinge or like a turquoise tinge to it, so it just makes the things a little bit softer. I think the outlines for Moriko, I don't really remember if I made it entirely black or if it is kind of like a very, very, very dark kind of green color, but whatever color I use for the line art, I will also make the outline the same color so that we have a nice consistent border look. Otherwise, it does look a little bit strange having a dark border or like a different color border alongside with my line art, so I want to make sure that looks at least consistent. And then for both hair and for the clothing, I do a very simple shading and for highlights as well. So highlights, I use a screen layer and just use either a yellow, or in this case I use the light green for her hair. And then for shading, I use a multiply layer for both the clothing and the hair just to block out quick and simple shadows. I am noticing now that I think I missed highlights on one of the Morikos, so I might have to go back and switch that. That, or I don't mind because she does have an umbrella, so it might be covered anyways. Might be okay, we'll see. But right now I'm adjusting the background color because I don't think I really liked what it looked like. So adjust that first just to make sure things look a little bit more uniform. And then after that, I'm putting a white outline or a white border around everything. So basically I take the same kind of line art layer, I expand the selection by a lot. I think I do about 50 pixels and then fill it in with white. So we have a general white outline for stickers to be cut out from the background. So for me, I like to give a little bit of a softer look. I did this for, I think, both the Masaki and Kaisen one, as well as, actually, I think I did it for all of them. Selwyn's had a little bit of a tone shift or like a hue shift, as well as Sato and Akemi as well had more of like a pink hue. So this one I ended up giving a little bit more of a softer green color over top. And then the last thing we need to do before we send this to cutting and printing is separating the background and our chibis. So I want to have these chibis on their own on a transparent background, and then I need my background layer to be just the background and the whites together. So when we put them together in the Silhouette program, which I'm using Silhouette Studio to do my cutting, I have them separated like this so I can just do cut lines on just the stickers themselves and not on this weird white and green background as well. So I did have some issues, which I don't really remember if I show you guys, but basically some of my stickers are a little bit too close to each other. I think I do show you guys footage of this, but what I'm doing is checking my cut lines. So I went ahead, did a selection of all of my little stickers, made the outlines, did a little bit of correction here and there just to make sure to check whether or not, you know, I don't want random cuts in the middle to make my cutting machine work a little bit too hard. So I want to make sure to make it as simple as possible because these are going to be like super tiny for the most part. So I want to make the cutting a little bit more quicker if I can. So after I get the cut lines all settled, I go ahead and align them back onto our background sheet. Then we can go ahead and group them together. I'm going to shrink them down. So this is why I feel like you should find the canvas size that you want to work, because I work a little bit bigger than what my stickers actually are. And then after that, I go ahead and size it down to the correct size. We duplicate them so we have several versions, send that to my printer, and then here we go. So this is done on matte sticker paper for inkjet printer because I have the Pixma Pro 100, I believe, is the printer that I have for my stickers, as well as like a normal laser jet as well. So moving along from after printing, I am sticking some cold laminate film on top of my stickers. So this one is a matte version, which I've been loving to use for a lot of my planner stickers. I find the matte just looks really nice. So what I do is align the bottom so there's less excess, and then I want all the excess to be at the very top, making sure that some of the sticky part is going to be sticking onto the sticker paper, and then the rest is going to be stuck to my desk. After that, I have folded the back so that there is a little bit of like a pull tab so that our laminate can be easily glided across with help with our little, I guess it's like a squeegee. So I'm using that to push our laminate all the way across. I do recommend if you use any type of like shinier film or you're worried about scratches from your little squeegee, I recommend putting another sheet of sticker paper or paper between where you're squeegeeing and then the rest of your stickers so you can prevent any scratch lines. But after that, after it's like kind of fully adhered, making sure you have no bubbles or creases, we can stick this onto our cutting mat and send it to our cutting machine. So I think I've talked about this in the past. I do have like the Silhouette Portrait 3, which I actually don't know if it's discontinued at this point. Mine's like very old. I think I bought it just right out of uni. So it's been many, many years since I've had this one. But I also try my best like to record my cutting settings because My cutting machine's a little bit finicky, so I recommend that you check out the settings that you want to use. I totally forgot what settings I ended up using, so I will end up switching it at some point to make sure that, you know, it cuts through the both laminate as well as the sticker paper, but not the backing of the sticker paper. So that's like usually my problem with these ones. Sometimes if I misclick or I misremember, some of my sticker sheets become die cuts, which is not what I want, or it doesn't cut deep enough. So, you know, the stickers don't peel off like this. I want it to be very easy for the stickers to be able to peel as well as not cut through the back. So there's a little bit of like texture or embossing almost on the back because of the blade, but I don't really mind too much as long as it doesn't pierce all the way through and makes it very difficult for you guys to peel off your stickers. So I'm just making sure to take note, hopefully to remember for next time about the correct sticker settings. After that, we can remove it from the mat and we can prepare to cut them out. Some people would like to use like their silhouettes to cut out the borders for your stickers. I don't want to risk it. Like I mentioned, my silhouette portrait is a little bit finicky. I do not want it to mess up the sticker sheets at the last step. So I rather manually do it after seeing that it's correctly cut out the individual stickers on the sticker sheet. So I'm using a metal ruler upside down, which I might explain a little bit later. Don't do this if you're not comfortable using an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. Use your ruler correctly. But we used the backside back during like my design and my art school days. So back then you would use your metal ruler backwards so that you have it flush with the paper. But it's very unsafe if you miss, because I think several of us have cut our thumbs by slicing too quickly and it skips the metal and it goes straight to your thumb. So yeah, just be careful if you're not familiar using a box cutter and a ruler. But here are what the stickers look like. I ended up cutting the corners with a corner rounder. So this is kind of what the end result looks like with all three finished. Here is the past ones that I've done. So this is from September with the Masaki and Kaisen. I did end up shrinking the size because Masaki and Kaisen was a little bit too tight for the envelopes that I was using. And then the pink set with Akemi and Sato is the same size as the one that I ended up doing for Moriko because it was just an easier size for me to do. This one has the hollow and sparkle laminate, while this one has completely matte, which right now is my favorite. And then here's Selwyn, where you can see I messed up the cutting settings and I made die cuts out of them, but then I quickly corrected it and made some kiss cuts correctly. So yeah, that's my personal sheet, I guess. But we can go ahead and go into our little notebook here where I do a lot of my sticker testing and notes and everything. Please don't read them. They might be a little bit embarrassing. But I wanted to keep track and just keep a few of these in here just to make sure that, you know, it's kind of like a reminder. Right now I'm just making sure that on the bottom, because of my silhouette, like I said, is a bit finicky. Sometimes it doesn't cut at the same pressure, I guess, or depth. Because of that, I do check the bottom portion of my sticker sheets to make sure that they're still peelable. So I do a quick check on, I guess, Kaisen, who's at the very bottom right hand corner, and then making sure that he's peelable, because it means the rest of the sticker sheet is peelable for everything else, I guess, if that makes sense. But because this one has a little bit more of the back embossing and a little bit cut through the backing sheet of the sticker paper, I am using this one for my own testing. So you can kind of see how tiny the stickers are. I did end up making the white borders a little bit thinner than usual, but I think it's because there are some of the stickers that are a little bit too close to each other. So I didn't want to push the white border too far for the cutting. So it is slightly thinner than I think my previous sets, but for the most part I think it was like a consistent thickness all the way around. Decided to put the Three Stooges at the very bottom, so we have Masaki, Moriko, and Kaisen, and then stuck a few of the other ones on this little page, which I was doing a little bit of brainstorming prior. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me do this little kind of sticker process making video for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoyed watching it, and I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!